The UK is uniting behind Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who's now in a stable condition but still in intensive care. The royal family has joined the public in a chorus of support for the man colleagues have called a fighter. Here's Ben Avery.
On the lockdown streets of the United Kingdom, they called this a clap for Boris. Household after household, each facing their own battles, pausing for the Prime Minister.
Get well soon, Boris Johnson.
At Downing Street, files were replaced with flowers as business was briefly set aside.
He's not just the Prime Minister. For all of us in Cabinet, he's not just our boss. He's also a colleague and he's also our friend.
Stricter anti-COVID-19 measures have come into effect in Israel. This just before the first night of Passover.
Right now, at this time, the curfew is going into effect. It's unprecedented and it is related to Passover. Passover, I think, is the most important festival in the Jewish calendar. It's a big family festival, and the aim of this curfew, this lockdown that lasts just under 72 hours, is to make sure that no one spends Passover with their families. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, announcing this unprecedented move, said that in the previous Jewish festival a month ago, Israel had allowed celebrations. What followed was a spike in infections. He said that this is a life-saving measure. It wasn't going to go ahead. And looking ahead, as your discussion has been, to what happens next.
Just getting the latest figures from the NHS for the number of deaths and cases in England. A further 828 people who tested positive for coronavirus have died, bringing the total number of confirmed reported deaths in England to 6,483. All the usual caveats, of course, about the time lag. Many of these deaths, the initial problem would have started before the lockdown. So there is that lagging element here. And of course, also problems with reporting when the death happened and when the medical staff get round to actually reporting it.
In Spain, the number of daily deaths rose for a second day, with 757 people dying in 24 hours. The number of daily fatalities in Spain had previously fallen for 4 days in a row until Tuesday. 14,500 people have now died there. Spain also registered 6,000 new infections, bringing the overall detected cases to over 146,000. The Spanish government has warned that the future of the European Union is in jeopardy if it fails to come up with a joint financial response to combat the pandemic.
It's a milestone nobody wanted to reach. France joins Italy, Spain and the US as the fourth country with more than 10,000 recorded COVID-19 deaths, a third of them residents who passed away in the care facilities they lived in. In France, more than 30,000 people are currently hospitalized with the new coronavirus. 7,000 of them are in critical condition. As the number of COVID-19 patients continues to grow, medics are learning more about the disease. Older men are more affected, as are patients with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes or obesity. But young people too can fall victim to the novel coronavirus. Currently, over 100 patients in intensive care are under 30.
It's been said that the coronavirus doesn't discriminate, with the rich, famous and powerful among those who've fallen ill. But that doesn't tell the full story, because some statistics suggest that if you're poor or from an ethnic minority, you're more likely to get sick or even die. COVID-19 is killing black Americans at a higher rate than anyone else. Gary Harrell has lost 10 friends or family members to the virus. 8 were black, 1 Hispanic. He lives in Louisiana, which, along with the states of Illinois and Michigan, has released preliminary data indicating a disproportionate number of African American victims of the virus. On Monday, more than 70% of fatalities in Louisiana were black, though they make up only a third of the population there.
Municipal officials distributing free face masks. As the death toll rises, the government has introduced stricter measures. Travel to 31 cities is banned, either by public transport or in private vehicles. In addition to people over 65 years old and those with chronic diseases, people younger than 20 years old are also not allowed to go outside. It is compulsory to wear masks in public areas such as markets, supermarkets and places where people work together. For the most part, the public appears to have taken the advice seriously. Turkey's postal system will start delivering medical face masks free of charge.
Today is exactly 100 days since the first case of what we now know as COVID-19 was reported to the World Health Organization. The WHO learning of this 100 days ago today. And it started, as we now know, in Wuhan, the Chinese city of 11 million. Today, the city is emerging from lockdown. A lockdown that has been in place since the middle of January. And there you see people who received clearance could not wait to break free and to go somewhere. The airport's very busy as about 200 or so flights left Wuhan.
In a country with a population of more than 160 million, fewer than 3,000 have been tested for the virus. That's one of the lowest testing rates anywhere. Many hospitals all over Bangladesh are turning away patients, even the critically ill, because of fears of coronavirus infection. Al-Masuddin died last week after he was denied treatment at 6 different hospitals in the capital. The veteran freedom fighter of the War of Independence in Bangladesh was a brain hemorrhage patient, suffering from mild pneumonia. His only daughter says the healthcare system is failing to serve the people.
Even after admitting him, they later discharged him and refused treatment. I could understand those who didn't have the gear might be at risk, but many of the doctors had full protective equipment. Some of these hospitals had corona isolation units. Why didn't they admit or treat him?
The highest profile child sex abuse case faced by the Catholic Church has been turned on its head. After a year behind bars, Cardinal George Pell has walked free from a prison outside Melbourne. Australia's High Court overturned previous rulings and acquitted the senior Catholic cleric of abusing 2 choir boys in the 90s. Pell said a serious injustice had been remedied.
My trial was not a referendum on the Catholic Church, nor a referendum on how church authorities in Australia dealt with the crime of pedophilia in the church. The point was whether I had committed these awful crimes, and I did not.
The prosecution had relied heavily on the testimony of the one surviving accuser, who said Pell sexually assaulted him and another boy in a Melbourne cathedral while he was Archbishop there.